Hello everyone, my name is Amber. Welcome to my channel, Amber Reads Romance. Today I am excited to be doing a collab video with a bunch of other booktubers. Beccie from Beccie Reads asked us to do the ABCs of romance. Now that's going to be different for each of these booktubers. People are doing certain themes, whatever it is. There's different types and how creative they're coming up with it. I honestly went a much easier route. Just with how crazy work has been, and I'm just got a lot going on. So mine's pretty basic. I am just going to be going over all from A to Z basically of book titles in romance books from my favorite authors. So all of these books are tied to some of my favorite authors. There is a couple letters I didn't have anything for, so that's going to be a TBR maybe. A TBR, I need to read these because I had an issue getting those ones. But thank you so much. I hope this video is not going to be too chaotic or long or crazy, but this is going to be my ABCs of my favorite romance authors. Okay guys, so like I said in the intro, this is going to be from A to Z, book titles going from A to Z, not authors' names, but these are books from some of my favorite authors. So in this video, I am not going to go over the entire synopsis or deep feelings on each of the books because that would be forever. You know how long I talk about books when I review them, so we don't want to make this video so crazy, so long. I already have no idea how this is gonna go. I'm just kind of made my list and I'm winging it here. So bear with me. But there was 2 letters again that I had issues finding a book from one of my authors. So I actually just picked 2 books that I've been really wanting to read that have been on a TBR forever, and I added those here. Sorry, it's kind of cheating, but I couldn't come up with anything and I was going crazy. Now, I initially wanted to do an A to Z of historical romance books, but I was having a really hard time getting ones that I've read for specific titles. So like I think I was having issues with Z and like Q or something. I don't know. But that may be a future video that comes later because I'm going to keep track and see if I can fill up some of those letters. But for now, we're just going to make this simple. It's just going to be my favorite books from my favorite authors here. So again, Beccie is putting on this collaboration, so I believe she's going to have a playlist. So I will try to link that down below if I remember. That way you can check out everybody else's videos that are in this collab. There are some amazing booktubers participating in this, and it has been so fun like chatting with them about when we're having issues finding books or things with a specific letter. But I think it'll be interesting. I really want you to go watch their videos because some of them had some really cool creative ideas and mine was just kind of basic. So I'm sorry, but this is what I could do in this time. So let's go ahead and dive in because we've got the whole alphabet to cover here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up some of my favorite books here. Some of them, most of them I have piled up here. I've got like 3 big piles. So my bookcase may be looking a little bare behind me. Bear with me. Sorry, I obviously had to take some Sophie down, so that was kind of looking a little bare. Just ignore my bare bookcase. I tried to fill it up a little bit, but I took a lot of books down. So anyways, let's get started. So the first book, I honestly just want to show this off too. Because I actually did the Kickstarter for this author, and I got these, I didn't get all the books in this series, but I did get like, I think maybe 4 books out of the series. But so for the letter A, I have Always Practice Save Hex. This is by Juliet Cross. I absolutely love Juliet Cross. I love the Say a Spell Spirit series. I actually decided to treat myself when it was my birthday and got a bunch of these books, and they are beautiful. beautiful hardbacks, and she had artwork and everything. You could see it signed by Juliet. Now, I got into Juliet from watching, you know, Jen from the Book Refuge talk about her. I read the Stay a Spell series and I just loved it. And Always Practice Save Hex was just so fantastic. It was because we finally got like a Grimm and everything. And this one is between Livy Savoy, and she's the people person. She has the magical gift of persuasion. And there's also the Grim Reaper, Gareth Blackwell. He's broody, stoic state, but the witch he's partnered with in the public relations contest is destroying his peace of mind. So I believe this is the one where these two are kind of, they kind of go against each other and they team up in a certain PR project type of thing. And it was just really cool because the Grimms were very mysterious and we didn't know a lot about the Grimms. And so this one was one of the first ones with that. Grim and Barrett also is one of my favorites because that one is just so like swoony. But I really wanted to bring this one up in the A's here because I wanted to show off my beautiful book. Another A that I just want to mention, I actually don't have this book. I need to buy the series, is The Accidental Witness by Sam Mariano. This is the introduction to Matteo Morelli, and he is one of my favorite psycho men. He is an anti-hero. He's kind of a villain. In that book, he is bad. And Sam Mariano just writes some of my favorite psychopath heroes. And Matteo Morelli is something else. And it's a long, like you have to read the whole series to get the Matteo full story. But I just love that one. It's such a fantastic, crazy romance. Okay, so for the letter B, I'm going to show you Sophie Lark here. So for B, I obviously have The Bully, which is one of my favorite Sophie Larks. But in that, you really need to read the entire series to get to that, to experience what it is, how it's so good, because Dean is kind of like the villain. And this is his, you know, his book and his journey. And you kind of get to see why he is the way he is and why he's so hateful towards people. And he has these vendettas. And I just really loved him. Sophie had said, like, he's basically her, like, Draco of her series. So I just adored it. But one of my favorite ones is Broken Vow. And that is Raylan's romance and Riona Griffin. And really, like, this is just... Hold on, let me double check here. Yeah, Raylan. So this, honestly, I have to show this because this is one of my favorite male covers ever. Like, this guy is so gorgeous. Like, it's black and white and his eyes still like, oh. I love this cover. Like, this is one of the only books, I think, where the guy on the cover is literally what I imagined as the man that I'm reading about. But what I loved about this is a grumpy sunshine, but the woman is the grump. She's a lawyer. She's a prickly heroine. She's tough as nails, and she really works her ass off as the lawyer for her mafia family. And then Raylan is this ex-special forces, also cowboy. His family has like a ranch, and he's set to protect her as her bodyguard, and he has to end up taking her back out to the ranch to keep her safe. And it was just so adorable. It's like mixing cowboy with mafia, and I freaking loved this one so much. And that cover can't be beat. I freaking love it. Okay, for C, I'm gonna bring up Credence by Penelope Douglas. This was like one of my first taboo books, and I've gotten a lot more taboo since then, but this one was just such a wild setup where it was like her step uncle, she's living up in the mountains after her parents like kind of like unalive themselves and like leave her abandoned basically. And so she goes to live with her step uncle and his two sons, and so they're not related, it's step, but she ends up kind of having a sexual interest in all three of them. and stuff happens, but she does only end up with one of them. So this one was super taboo and angsty, and just, I loved it so much. And it still holds a special place in my heart because it was one of the first that I read, and I just loved it. And I started falling in love with Penelope Douglas's writing. And so I always recommend this one. If you're looking for a taboo, smutty, fun time, Snowden vibes, it's a great one. Okay, so for letter D, this would be no surprise. Now, again, you're going to see some of the same authors, but like with different books from the letters introduced here, because this author is going to be brought up multiple times on this list, and it is because they are my all-time favorite author. I love everything that she does. She's my auto-buy author, and that is Pam Godwin, and this is Dark Notes. So this was, I believe, actually my first Pam Godwin. I did a vlog of it, reading this and Sea of Ruin, and this just blew me away. I cried. I was so emotionally invested. This is a story where it has BDSM as healing. This young girl has gone through so much trauma. She brutally gets assaulted by her brother's best friend in such a violent and hardcore way. She has to almost like sell her body to make it so her family can survive. She goes to a special school for, music, and she's a very amazing pianist, and she basically falls in love with her teacher, who comes in and he uses BDSM and gives her agency and voice through BDSM, where she's in power. Even though she's a submissive, she learns that dynamic and what he does to help her. It's just very beautiful. I love it so much, and I will never stop recommending this book. So if you want a good student teacher, but it's dark, definitely pick this up. Okay, so letter E is another one of my favorite authors, and this one is just one of my favorites, and that is Entreat Me by Grace Draven. I'm sorry if you see my ring light here. It's very shiny. I wish they would stop making these books shiny so that we who have to show them on camera, it will work good. But Entreat Me was such an amazing fantasy Beauty and the Beast retelling. The heroine is just so strong. She is all for it, going after it with this beast. And I just loved this. This was very moving. I love the audiobook for this. I love the twists that it took, with his son also having this curse on them and everything. So I'm not going too deep into it again because this video is going to already be long. But Entreat Me is just one of my favorites, and I love Grace Draven. Okay, so F, I'm going to have a few of this author's books on this list too. But I will start with the first. This is actually the first book that I read from this author, and that is Flawless by Elsie Silver. This is not my favorite in the series, but I think I gave it 5 stars. It's still a great, read, or it might have been 4. I can't remember. But this really introduced me to Elsie Silver. I fell in love with her Chestnut Spring series. Every book was fantastic. One of them I didn't like as much because it was like friends to lovers type of thing, and it was just didn't hit as same to me, but this one was fantastic. It was my introduction to Elsie. I love her cowboy. This is, a rodeo, bull rider. And it was just fantastic being introduced to this wonderful Eaton family. And, my love for Elsie just grew and grew after this book. So if you haven't, I don't know if you haven't picked up this series yet. I know it blew up. But I would highly recommend, if you want to see if Elsie Silver is a good fit for you, pick up the Chestnut Spring series because it's fantastic. I'm just now starting to read the Gold Rush series, and I'm loving that. Okay, so for G, I was going to bring Grim and Barrett, which I didn't grab that book, but that's in the same series with Juliet Cross, and that was actually one of my favorites in this series because I just love the Grimm so much, and that one was just such a beautiful, sweet low angst, amazing romance. But I have to bring up one of my favorite books from 2024, and it completely wrecked me, and it's my favorite romance. If you know, you know what I'm going to bring up, and that's God of Fury by Rena Kent. I read Rena Kent's entire backlist to finally get to this series, and I have a playlist, so I'll try to put that up above, or you can check out my playlist. I have a whole Rena Kent playlist, so I've logged every single book. And God of Fury is the best book she's ever written. It is my all-time favorite. This book made me cry so many times, and I mean hard crying, ugly crying. I was so emotionally invested in Brandon and Nico. Like, they are just, you know, so precious to me. I love the character growth. I think you should read the entire series to get to this. I know some people went right to this because that's all they wanted, and that's fine, but I think you'll understand all the other side characters more if you go into this. If you want my deep spoilery thoughts, check out the vlog, because I think I do cry on that vlog, which is crazy. I used to say I never cried in books, but I cry now. This was a 6-star read for me. I love this romance so much, and I was so impressed with Rena Kent's writing and how she dealt with some really dark topics, especially with like self-harm and previous sexual trauma. So I just think this book was so fantastic. It was beautiful. It was dark. It was everything. So I'm not going to go into it because I've talked about this so many times. But if anything, if you can take anything from this, this is the best Rena Kent. This is my favorite romance I've ever read, and I highly recommend it. Okay, so on to the letter H. And again, this is my girl Pam Godwin. So if you know H, you probably know what I'm going to bring up right now. And that is Hills of Shivers and Shadows. This trilogy broke my mind in 2024. It was the top book of the year for me. This book was insane. I have talked about this book many times. It's one of my all-time favorites. I think Pam Godwin is a freaking genius. She's a genius. I love her. If you can't tell where I'm going to be bringing up multiple Pam Godwins that I love her, okay? I'm a ride or die. Like, I love her. Okay, so anyways, I sound like a psycho, but I just adore her writing. I think she writes such dark, interesting, complex stories, and she doesn't write dark romance just to be like in your face, get those clickbaits for shock value. Her stories are actually telling, it's like a story with purpose. It's needed. It's not gratuitous in any way. But this one I've talked about so many times, I'm not going to go into the whole thing here. I have vlogged the 3 books for this series, so you can check those out if you want to. This literally blew my mind. I didn't think it was that dark till we got to the reveal halfway through, and then I literally lost my shit. So this is a why choose. It's a captor captive. It's a mind F. It's crazy, and I love it. So I mean, I'm not, again, if I talk about this, I won't stop talking, and we'll keep this video will just be so long. I've recommended this to everybody that I know. I'm trying to get everybody I know to read this book because it'll blow your mind. And I just think it's brilliant. So anyways. Okay, sorry. I have one more H that I'm going to bring up, and that is Heartless by Elsie Silver. This was actually a 6-star read for me. This is my favorite single dad nanny book. I love Kate Eaton. I love Willa. She is like one of my favorite heroines of all time. This is my favorite book in that series. It is so fantastic. Honestly, if you don't want to read Flawless, read Heartless. It will steal your heart. It is so perfect. It is the best Grumpy Sunshine, nanny, single dad. It's cowboy. It's got everything, and I adore it. Okay, so I had to grab a whole other stack here, so we're going to continue on with our letters here. So now we're going to go on to I, And I have Ivan by Sophie Lark. Now, this one I think is really fun one to read because this does have a female assassin and she's set to kill, I believe he's in the Bratva, Ivan's in the Bratva, and he's like got this crazy house that nobody could break into. She manages to get in. She's seconds away from like killing him and he catches her. And he basically ties her up and decides to torture her a little bit, but maybe with sex. And they become like obsessed with each other. It's very quick. You can see it's pretty small. It's not that long. So I think if you want to give Sophie Lark a try, I would pick this one up. It is so fun. It's just great to read, like a female assassin type of character. Like they are both so strong, and it's really good mafia one. Okay, sorry, I had to put the stack of books out of the way. It was about to fall. Okay, so now we have Kay, and guess what? I have another Pam Godwin. So this is Knotted. This is the Fabled edition that I just love. Like, look at that pretty foiling on the horse. And this is actually like a dark cowboy series. Now, I need to continue with the series. I've only read Knotted, but it starts out so dark. It's so devastating. I cried in this one. It had me upset to my stomach. And it starts with two young lovers that they grew up on this ranch together. They're in love. And they're really, I think they were like in their teens, and they're finally going to lose their virginity together. And they're going to do it outside. He has some like BDSM type of like spanking and tie up type of fantasies. And so they kind of want to do that together. But after he ties her up, these guys come and attack them and assault her. And it just breaks their world apart. And she ends up having to leave the ranch. And she comes back years later and he's like a completely different person. And so it's so good. It's so good. So had to recommend another Pam Godwin for you guys. I did. And then I have to bring it up. I didn't take it down because it's right up here. But Keeping 13, obviously for the bees, also Binding 13. But Chloe Walsh I fell in love with last year. Those were my favorite books of, when I say last year, I'm sorry, 2023. So it's 2025 now. So I fell in love with that series. They ended up being like my favorite books from 2023. I vlogged those, cried hysterically throughout that series. I have never been as emotionally invested in characters as I am in that series. Like, Joey breaks my heart. I love Johnny. I love just like, it's so beautiful. It's so heartbreaking. I was intimidated by the size of those books, but I definitely say if that's something stopping you, just give it a try, because I feel like the length is needed with the amount of character growth and journey she takes these characters on. So just have to bring that up because that series is just so important to me and I just love it so much. Okay, so now we're on to Elle, and I have a Gianna Darling. I love Gianna Darling so much. I started out reading her with this very book, and that is Lessons in Corruption. This is the first book in the Fallen Men series. Is an MC series. It's one of my favorite MC books. This is like, to me, I always imagine Jax Teller as like this character, King. But this is like a reverse age gap, but she's not that much older, but it is also a student teacher. It's a female teacher, and she's got this hot young guy, King, in her class, and he's also the son to the president of the MC. And it was just so swoony and exciting and a great introduction to a series. And I just loved it. I love this entire series. I highly recommend it if you haven't picked it up. And I love Gianna Darling. The other Elle that I have, I don't have the book yet. I'm actually getting it soon here because I actually asked Jen from the Book Refuge to annotate the series for me because I just fell in love with it. And that is Loving Romeo by Laura Pavlov. I just discovered Laura Pavlov last year, and I don't know where I was sleeping, but I loved this book so much. It's a great like boxing small town, like it starts enemies to lovers, but they come really good friends and support system for each other, and it's just such a swoony hero. And I love Laura Pavlov's small town, that like sweetness that she creates with her books. So I just wanted to bring that up here real quick. Oh my gosh, this video is going to be so long. Okay, so now I have Mother of Death and Dawn by Carissa Broadbent. Now, I'm recommending this entire trilogy. This was the first time that I read Carissa Broadbent. This is The War of Lost Hearts. This is the third book in it, but I gave the last 2 books 6 stars. It is such an amazing fantasy romance. Now it's high fantasy. I think it's a little bit lower in the romance than some people expect the series to be, but I think it's perfect. I think the reveal she does in the second book literally blew my freaking mind. I cried in both of these books. So I just really loved this world building that she did. I ended up buying this cover because this is getting picked up by, I can't remember who picked it up, but you know, they'll change the covers, and I just love these covers so much. So I ended up buying this as soon as I could because I don't want to miss out on these beautiful covers. But this is like got such a strong female lead, such complex world building and fantasy in this. And I love this series so much. Okay, so for letter N, I actually don't have these books, but or the book that I'm going to bring up, I'm sorry, but I read Nightshade by Kari Lake, and I adored this. Beccie actually recommended this to me from 12X from 12 Friends. I had never read Kari Lake. It was such a crazy fantasy, gothic, you know, fated mate type of like true love reincarnation. It was freaking crazy. I listened to the audiobook, and the audiobook was so good. It is a duet, so there is a second part to it, but like this first one just blew me away with the world building, the romance, like the mystery, all the different types of creatures. Now, I'm not going into everything here, but I just, oh my God, if you haven't read Kari Lake yet, I would give this book a try because it was so good. And now I really want to dive into Kari Lake's backlist. Okay, so letter O, I have to bring up one of the OGs, and I've been doing the read-alongs for over a year with Jen, and that is Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. And of course, we all know Outlander. I don't know if everybody's read the series, but you may just watch the show. But the series is just so fantastic. I mean, each of these books gets longer and longer, and there's more to it. But there is nothing more beautiful than our hero, Jamie Fraser. He is top book boyfriend, and he continues to be better and better and better throughout every book in this series. I'm about to have to start reading the last book in the series, so far at least, pretty soon here. So I just love Outlander. It holds a special place in my heart, and I actually really love the first book. I know people like later books more a little bit, but I just think it's very nostalgic to me to come back to when Jamie and Claire first met. Again, this is time travel. She goes back in time, and it's like she was married, but she meets Jamie Fraser and has to marry him first to help her in safety. And he's a Highlander, and he's just so sexy, and he's just, he's the best. So anyways, Outlander, had to bring it up here for O. Okay, so now we're on to P, and we're going to bring up one of my favorite books. Now, this author, I love everything that she writes. I don't think I've rated anything she's written badly, and this one was actually a 6-star read for me, and that is P.S. You're Intolerable. Now, this is such an amazing grumpy sunshine workplace romance, and you know, Elliot Levi is like one of my top book boyfriends too, and he comes off very cold and grumpy and stoic and whatever, but when he realizes his assistant was pregnant, which he didn't even realize because he's so like driven, work focused, he feels really bad, and he does all these acts of care for her, and then he actually moves her and her daughter into his place because they're the place was under construction and it was just a shit show, and he invites her to live with him, and he like just takes care of her and her daughter, and is so swoon worthy, you guys. Like, I love this book so much. It's one of my favorites, and I can't recommend this enough. It's one of my favorite books, and Julia Wolf just writes fantastic heroes. So I definitely recommend you pick this one up. Even if you haven't read the other ones in the series, this one you can read on its own in its perfection. It's one of my favorites. I love a man that takes care of a woman and her baby, and it's not his baby. It's been realized that that's like one of my favorite tropes, not his baby. I love those. So if you have recommendations of that, hit me up, leave it in the comments. I love that. Okay, so Q, that was kind of a tough one for me, but I have one that was fantastic and by an author that I really love, and that is Quarterback Sneak by Candy Steiner. I love this entire series, but I was really impressed with this one because it ended up being a lot more emotional and dealing with heavier topics than I thought. You know, it's a quarterback and like the coach's daughter, but they're both like dealing with like grief, and they really come together. And it just was very emotional to me. You know, this one had a prickly heroine, and I love a prickly heroine that gets done right. And it was very well done because Holden like really breaks down her walls, and they work through their grief and stuff together and their trauma together. And I just really, really loved it. So I definitely love Candy Steiner's writing, and had a great time with that one. Okay, so for R, I have another Elsie Silver, and it's from that same series, and that's Reckless. I love this one because this one was like a surprise pregnancy, and we had a prickly heroine in this one, and I just relate to this character so much. Like, she just reminds me a lot of me and how prickly I can kind of come across, a little bitchy, but there's more to her, and I just really connected with her story, and she like gets accepted in by the Eatons, and they treat her like they're part of her family, and so it's just this beautiful found family in this one that I just adored. So this is another one of my favorites in this series. Obviously Heartless is number one forever, but then Reckless is a close second to that one. I just loved this book. And then obviously I have Redeeming Six, which I'm not taking out, but that is Joey's romance. Redeeming Six and Saving Six broke my freaking heart. They had to deal with such heavy topics, you know, again, the alcoholism, drug addiction, abuse by a parent, like very severe abuse. So it's very emotional, and Joey will live in my head forever. Like, I always think of Joey, and he just holds a special place in my heart. Okay, sorry, this video is long, you guys. Okay, so now we have S, and I don't think it'd be a surprise that if it's another Pam Godwin, which one am I going to bring up? It's one of my favorites of all time, and that is Sea of Ruin. I love this cover so much. I will use any excuse I can to show off this book because I just love this cover. It's just so gorgeous. Love it. And Sea of Ruin is one of the darkest historicals I've ever read because, yes, this is a historical. It is a pirate romance. It is kind of like a white shoes type of situation. We got some MMF stuff going on. This is one of the best heroines that I've ever read. She's one of my top heroines. That's a video I need to be doing, is my favorite heroines, because I know somebody asked for that. I'm so sorry I haven't got it yet. But I love this one so much. It does have so much dark content in it. Assault on Page. There is a lot that this heroine goes through that is not for the faint of heart. So if you cannot handle dark stuff, I would not read this. But I love this. I cried in the beginning of this book immediately. Pam Godwin's writing is just so phenomenal and beautiful and lyrical, and she pulls you in and gets you invested in a character so quickly. Like, I was just so emotionally invested in this story, and it really moved me. So I love this. I love a good pirate romance, and we have a female pirate, so that's really badass. So I definitely recommend this one. I never will stop recommending it. And then I just wanted to bring up another S because it was one of my favorites and I fell in love with this author's writing, and that is Soul Eater by Lily Mayne. This is a monster romance. There's a rift that opens up and monsters come into our world. And, you know, there's military and all this stuff going on. And we have the Soul Eater who comes through, and he comes through randomly and will just kill a bunch of people. And so they think he's this evil being and they got to get him. They lay a trap for him, but he basically wants to get trapped because he gets his eye on one of the guys that was their soldier, and he's intrigued by him. And they end up escaping together and going on a road trip, and you kind of discover what the Soul Eater's real purpose was in killing those people. And it's just the sweetest monster romance. The sex in this was so hot. Like, I loved this. It was so creative. I hadn't read anything like it. And so this was like a 6-star rate for me. And it's so freaking adorable. So just wanted to mention that here. Okay, I got my last stack of books here. So we're getting to the end, you guys. Oh, this is going to be a crazy video. I hope it's not too chaotic. But we are on to our tea. And I have Twisted Emotions by Cora Riley. Now, I will mention I don't love newer Cora Riley stuff, but I did love all of her Mafia. That's how I first started getting into Mafia. And I loved her older series. I love the Kimura Chronicles, except the last 2 books I hate. So I will preference that by saying that. But Cora Riley this is one of my favorite Mafia romances of all time. I love it. It's emotional. It has some crazy shit that goes on, but it's, you know, a woman that was raped by her uncle. She basically gets put in arranged marriage with Nino Falcone of the Kimura, and he's in Vegas, and they're pretty crazy. Her family's like the traditional Italians, and she's so scared. She has a lot of trauma, and she's forced into this marriage, and then he realizes the night of their wedding that she was assaulted, and he's like, "Who did this to you?" And she tells him, and he's like, all right, because they want bloody sheets to prove they had sex. And he decides to give them bloody sheets, but with her uncle's blood covering those sheets. So him and his brother, Remo Falcone, they kill him on the wedding night. And it was fantastic, okay? But what makes this so amazing is that she has such trauma over her sexual abuse that Nino, like, takes it slow with her, puts the power in her hands, you know, even offers them never to have sex and him just have mistresses, but she really wants to get close to him, and they slowly work through her trauma in order for her to feel comfortable having sex. And this man has like no emotions. He's very cold. He never had felt anything, and he slowly starts to feel things. And it's amazing. Like, this is just so perfect. It's one of my favorite Mafia books of all time, so I had to bring it up. Okay, so I'm also going to, you know what, I'm not going to bring up the other one because this is just too long of a video. I have another tea, but we're just going to skip it. So I'm going to go with You, and I'm going to bring up, of course, one of my most talked about, loved books, and that's Untouchable by Sam Mariano. This is something that got me into dark romance. Carter Mahoney is like one of my all-time favorite anti-hero type of heroes. I love him. I love this book. I think it pushed boundaries at the time that now a lot of other dark romances kind of copy it. And I just think Sam Mariano always pushes the limits, but not in like the over-the-top way. I felt like this one dealt with dealing with a psychopath, thinking about how their mind works. Like, how would you be in a relationship with somebody that was like that? Somebody that's manipulative and willing to do whatever it takes. And so I just really found that very fascinating to look at, like, the mind. It's not just a dark romance for dark romance sake. It's very interesting. And Carter Mahoney is very intriguing. Now, you do have to get past the first 3 chapters because he does assault the heroine in the beginning. He makes her blow him. He basically F's her face. So just be prepared for that. If you can't handle it, you might not be able to handle this book. But once you get past those first 3 chapters, it's fascinating. So this book I will never stop recommending, even though it's dark and kind of pushes your limits. I will always recommend this. So I absolutely love Untouchable. I love Carter Mahoney. I love it. Okay, so V, I don't actually have this book, but I wanted to bring it up, and that is Vanquish by Pam Godwin. And this is in her Deliver series, which is about sex trafficking, and so it's very dark. But this is following Van's romance, and Van was kind of a villain in the first one. And I'm not going to reveal anything because I don't want to ruin it for you, but just know that this guy has like a redemption arc, even though he's still a fucked up individual and he's still a dark hero. I just loved Van's story. I felt for him. My heart broke for him, the way he was raised and what he's been turned into. And, you know, him and Amber have like this crazy connection, and he's going to cure her of all her like issues. And she has a lot of, you know, mental disorder type of stuff going on. So I can't really go into it because I don't want to ruin anything. But if you do pick up Deliver, you'll see how Van is shown in that book, and then we go to the next book and it's Van's romance, and that's something that Pam Godwin is like one of the only authors I know that can really churn a villain into somebody we root for, and it's fantastic. So it's one of my favorites. Okay, so W, I have a couple that I just want to bring up. I have The Wraith King by Juliet Cross. I loved this. I thought this was such a fantastic foray into fantasy romance, and it had everything that I wanted. It's like kind of like arranged marriage, forced arranged marriage. I'm not going to go into the whole thing, but it was a recent favorite. Then she also has Wolf Gone Wild, and that is the first book in that Stay a Spell series. And I would say if you haven't tried it yet, pick up Wolf Gone Wild because it's so creative, so great. It's this family of sister witches, and they take on helping this werewolf who can't shift, and so he's going crazy, and so he hears his wolf in his brain, and it's kind of like, you know, making him go crazy, and he needs their help to get this curse off him so he can shift again. So it is really fantastic. I love the heroine because she's a super Star Wars nerd, and I just connect to that on like so many levels. So it just like, I love that. And then I want to bring up my author that I really discovered this last year and a half, and that is Victoria Lum. And this is When Hearts Collide. Her most recent book, When Hearts Awaken, is the one that like really affected me and I was emotionally invested in, and I connected to it on such a deeper level. But I want to bring up When Hearts Collide. This is a teacher-student, very slow burn, angsty, the tension. She builds tension in her book so beautifully. And this is one of my favorite teacher-student romances. It was so well done. There's primal play in this. She brings the spice, but she also is emotional. She touches on emotional subjects in her book, so it's not just two-dimensional. Like, I always feel like I get a deeper emotional context in her books. Like, I think I got pretty emotional in this one, and these two also like really bond through the grief of like losing their mother, and so I just really loved this one. Okay, so X is where I didn't have one, you guys. I didn't have one, so I just added this one, which is Zenny. I've heard so much about this. I've read this author before. I think I read Rafe, which was a Manny one that was like fantastic. And so this one I think is in that same series. So I'm just basically adding this one basically as a TBR. I'm sorry, I didn't really have anything X to bring up. Okay, so then Y, I have You and Me by Tal Bauer. Now, I need to actually read more Tal Bauer, but this book was a 6-star read for me. It is one of my favorite MM romances. God of Fury is still #1, but this one is so emotional and beautiful, and it's like a beautiful friends to lovers. You know, I love the journey that one of the fathers goes through with his teenage son, trying to build that connection with him. I could relate to it. And it was just a beautiful journey all around, and him realizing he's falling in love with like his son's best friend's dad was just very sweet and touching. And I think Tal Bauer writes like really emotional, beautiful romances. Okay, so Z, I honestly didn't have anything. At least that I could think of. Maybe there was something, I just couldn't find it. But I have never read the Zodiac Academy. So I need to put that on my TBR. I need to try and read this author. I've never read them. I've heard so much about the Zodiac Academy. I don't know if I'll still really love it because I think it's more YA. I'm not sure, if I could be completely wrong, but I have not read any of those books and there is a lot. So I definitely need to add those to my TBR. So anyways, that is the ABCs that I did for my favorite authors. Again, these are not all my favorite authors, but these are my most loved. I get so much of their books. As you can see, I had most of the books on this list. So make sure you go check out Becky's channel for that playlist and to watch everybody else's ABCs of romance. Thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, leave me a comment, like the video, and I will see you guys on the next one.